Welcome to another episode of Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. I am Sean Farrell. God is great all the time. All the time, God is great. Jesus Christ is Lord. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Praise God. So, a couple of things today. Um, so, Penny Hardaway recently discussed was on the podcast with Zach Randolph, and he talked about Game 1 of the 1995 NBA Finals. Okay, and so after Nick Anderson missed the 4 free throws, okay, Houston got the rebound and called timeout. Penny Hardaway said that Coach Brian Hill told Nick Anderson that he wanted Nick to take a delay of game. Okay. Because Penny was guarding Kenny Smith. Okay. So Brian Hill tells Nick Anderson to take the delay of game. But the 4 free throws were still in Nick's head. And he forgot to take the delay of game. So as a result, Kenny Smith was able to get away from Penny Hardaway because Nick did not take the delay of game and the Magic did not see what the Rockets were running. So Smith got hot the ball, put in a couple of fakes, was able to hit a three, send the game into overtime. Robert Horry blocks Dennis Scott's potential game-winning three, and Olajuwon tips in the game winner in overtime. Okay. Actually, Houston led 118 to 115. Then Dennis Scott hit a three to tie the game. Then Drexler drove. Then Olajuwon had the game-winning tip in. Okay. So, by the way, I think this is huge. You may not think it's huge, but I think it's a huge deal. Okay. So when Nick Anderson went to the line at the end of Game 1 to shoot those 4 free throws, Marvin Halbert said something. Marvin Halbert said, Nick Anderson going to the line for the first time tonight. And I heard that. I'm like, that's interesting right there. Nick Anderson is going to the line for the first time tonight. The first time tonight, game's on the line, and he's going to the line for the first time tonight. And that got me to thinking right there. What if that had been his third time going to the line that night instead of the first time? Do you think he might have missed those 4 free throws? It's just something to think about. It's just something to think about. What if that would have been his second time or third time at the line that night? Okay. Instead of Nick Anderson going to the line for the first time tonight. Okay. So when Marvin Halbert said that, I was like, that's interesting right there. Because what if he had went to the line a couple of times earlier during the game? Do you think he probably would have missed 4 free throws? Probably not. But that's just something to think about. That's just something to think about. Also, speaking of the Orlando Magic, I'm going to bring Michael Jordan into this, okay? Steve Kerr says that Michael was embarrassed by that 95 Orlando series, okay? And when the Bulls came back and swept the Magic the very next year, 4-0, Michael Jordan said it just wasn't a personal vendetta. It was a team vendetta. Okay? But then I kind of got to thinking because you know how petty Mike could be. You know how petty and competitive Mike is. We all know how competitive he is. I got to thinking, As much as Michael says it's a team vendetta, I believe it was personal. I believe it was a very personal vendetta when Horace Grant was lifted up, when Shaquille O'Neal and the other members of the Orlando Magic lifted Horace Grant up in Game 6 of the United Center last year. And I know Michael said it was a team vendetta, but I think Michael took it 100 times more personally, okay? Because I said this. I said, you don't embarrass the greatest player of all time and think you're going to get away with it long term. Okay? You don't embarrass the greatest player of all time and think you're going to get away with it long term. Well, what do you know? What happened? They meet again in the Eastern Conference Finals. Chicago kicks their ass in 4 games. And just like that, yeah, just like that. Because if you remember in The Last Dance, Michael began working out the next day. He began working out the very next day. After the loss to the Orlando Magic, he began working out the very next day. Orlando was on his mind the entire summer. So, no. Orlando was on his mind the very next day after the loss to the Magic. Like I said, you don't embarrass the greatest player of all time and think you're going to get away with it long term. As Jordan proved, as the Bulls as a team proved, okay? By the way, Horace Grant injured his elbow. Horace Grant injured his elbow against the Atlanta Hawks that year in the playoffs. And so going into the Eastern Conference Finals against the Bulls, he wasn't healthy, and he only had one rebound the entire game 1. And then in the fourth quarter, I think late in the third or fourth quarter, he accidentally ran into Shaq and twisted his elbow, and he was done for the series. And so Horace Grant was a complete non-factor. Excuse me. Horace Grant was a complete non-factor that whole series in game 1. Yeah. You don't embarrass the greatest player of all time and think you're going to get away with it long term. Okay. So, speaking of trying to embarrass Michael Jordan, it was early in the 95-96 season. Okay. And they were playing the Vancouver Grizzlies, who were in their first year. And the Bulls were down by 12, okay? So there was a player by the name of Derek Martin, who played for the Vancouver Grizzlies that year. And MJ was 4 for 16 that game, okay? He was having an off night, 4 for 16, okay? So, Derek Martin was sitting on the bench. Jordan's in the game. Derek Martin shouts from the bench to Michael Jordan while he's on the court. Hey, Mike, shit's not for holding for you tonight. The Bulls were down by 12 to a expansion team, okay? So Antonio Harvey, who was on that expansion team that year, had this to say. Antonio Harvey said, after Martin said that, 24 points in the last 10 minutes. His last jump shot, he catches the ball in the post. He does a typical Jordan fadeaway. He is fading towards our bench. He knocks down the shot. They go up by 6. He turns to the bench and says, "Shut up, you little bitch." True story. What did I just say? You don't embarrass the greatest player of all time and think you're going to get away with it long term, as Derek Martin learned the hard way. Okay? And the Orlando Magic later on that year learned the hard way. Well, that's it. And that's all for Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. I am out of here. Peace out, y'all. I hope all of y'all, I pray all of y'all many blessings. Peace out, y'all.